I wanted to get on here today and just kind of catch you guys up with what's going on in the world and the cryptocurrency space and kind of what's going to be driving things and moving the whole world and the crypto market forward going forward here. Just a quick check on the markets. Yeah, today kind of a sideways day. The weekend has kind of cooled down. I think heading into the next week or next couple weeks, it's a potential that the market might fall just because I think the stock market's gonna kind of have a drop too. It's had a really unrealistic rebound. Well, it's pretty realistic in the sense of like market analysis and technical analysis and stuff like that. But in terms of what's going on in the world, it is not realistic at all. You have 22 million Americans now filed for unemployment, and yet the stock market's putting on gains and retracing. Yeah, it looks like it's getting a little oversold, and potential once the realities of what's actually happening in the world hit everybody, we could see another fall in the prices. And with that, there's a good chance that people that have invested in cryptocurrencies are also invested in those markets. And if they get kind of margin called or anything like that, cryptos will drop too, just like it's similar as it did a few weeks ago when everything fell. That's because price action and price decreases in one market can potentially lead to people needing to selling their assets in other markets to cover kind of margin calls and stuff like that. So that's just something I'm keeping aware of, and I put a little bit of cash that I have onto exchanges, but I haven't bought anything yet just for that. And if it doesn't go down, it goes up, I'm all right with that. I got enough cryptos as it is. I'm not like FOMOing into any projects anymore. So that's just what I have to say on those matters. Some projects are doing well. Zcash, we see there's up 11% today. Numeri, which is one of Tika's 5 picks, it was down to like $5 earlier, so it's gone like 4x since I think he released his pick. But I don't know. I'm not invested in that project too much. One I wish I would have gotten to recently was Unibright because it was at 7 cents recently, like a couple of weeks ago, and now it's back up to 20. I might try and jump on that if it pulls back anywhere down to like 11 or 12 cents. We'll see. Who knows? But yeah, I really wanted to get on here and talk about some of these big developments that are going to be coming. Cody, COTI, that's one to keep your eye on because they have a really unique directed acyclic graph setup, and it's also including like payment stuff. I know they have done some credit card payments on their actual network, so keep an eye on Cody. And they released their staking platform number 2. KuCoin is going to offer the ability to stake on their platform, which is beneficial for American citizens because they can't stake on the Cody through the Cody wallet at this time. So that's one I think not too many people know about. It's got a low market cap, but people should keep an eye on. But what I wanted to get into is what's going to be coming down in the next couple weeks to months as far as the digital world and digital money is concerned. Because as we all know, China has been developing their digital Yuan blockchain interface platform, and they're getting close to rolling it out. A lot of people said that this was going to be one of the things that emerged out of this COVID-19 stuff, and it's true. You know, we got all these reports of it being able to last on money and people not wanting to accept money in certain places. A lot of it just seems like perfect rollout, right? But yeah, here, China's digital currency is being tested but not officially launched. China's official digital currency is undergoing testing and has not been officially released, according to the central bank. Insiders said the trial run will be piloted within a small range of banks and end users to spread a wider range within improved technology and system. The Research Institute has said the research and development of China's official digital currency, dubbed DC-EP, is proceeding steadily, and the internal pilot tests are carried out in 4 cities and will be carried out in the scenarios of the 2022 Winter Olympics in Beijing. Now they're talking about 2022, but I think they're going to roll this out a lot sooner, just based on recent developments and everything that's going on. You also have this other story: Chinese local government employees to receive central bank digital currency in May. The report. So this one is saying that the Chinese national digital currency, the DCEP, will be issued to local government employees in the city of Suzhou in May, according to local news outlets. So, yeah, that last one was talking about the Olympics in 2022. they're already preparing to roll this thing out. We got the world global financial stage kind of crumbling before our faces, and it's a perfect time to roll out a new system. And China's going to really start implementing it. They were the first hit by the virus. They've gone through a couple months of lockdown. They're trying to reemerge now. Who knows if that'll go well? I don't think it will. They had recent reports of them taking a sampling in one place, and the number of people with it was like 50. Was that America or was that China? But anyways, it was like 50 to 80% higher than they thought it would be. No, that was China. There was a different one in the U.S. So the asymptomatic carriers and spreaders of this disease are far worse than even Chinese authorities realize, I believe. So they're trying to open up their economy, but every time they open up big things, even like theaters and stuff like that, within a couple of weeks they're shut back down. So we'll see how this all goes, but China, things are going rough over there. I don't think it's going to get all that much better anytime soon. But because of that, they're rolling out their digital Yuan currency, and we're starting to see this new rollout of the new financial economy for the future. And to like bring it over to the American side, and this was originally, I don't know, can't remember if I made a video about it, but they had talked about the digital dollar in one of the early versions of the relief bill that they were trying to get through the House of Representatives. And it was actually the Democrats that introduced it. That was stripped away from the final bill that passed. And this is actually about the banks. The banks want the government to put the money in the banks because then they can have that on their books as money that they can either leverage up to lend out or say that they have to cover their current loans or whatnot. Because people aren't just going to spend the money right away or get it out of their bank accounts. In most instances, I did. I might put some of it in crypto, put some of it, I took some out in cash just because I'm not scared of carrying cash. And who knows what will happen if something ever happens with electricity or the banks or their network or whatever. You're not really in control of your cash if it's in a bank as much as you would like to be. So they took this digital dollar part out of the bill, I think because the bank lobby really objected to it. But as you're seeing different stories come out about how they're trying to distribute all this money, both the small businesses and individuals, you're having deceased individuals get $1,200 checks put in their accounts, and because of the laws and stuff, you can't really take it out. You get kids that are still dependent on their parents' income taxes getting the deposit in their account, and their parents are getting some too. So there's all kinds of issues related to this, and I think then you're having stories of, like one was at the USAA, which is a bank or credit union that serves Air Force members and other military members. If they had accounts that were in the negative and this money was deposited, they were taking it right away. So the people that might have needed it the most, the people that were already hard up for cash, were having their stimuluses taken by the bank because they had negative balances. You know, the bank's doing like, you owe us money, but these people are obviously suffering. And instances like this, in that situation, that bank actually said that they would return the money, but I'm sure this is not the only bank that's doing it, and that's because that one's attached to the government and Air Force and armed services members. They probably got a lot of blowback, but there's probably lots of banks, little banks out there that are doing the same thing and not returning it to people. And that's going to be an issue. That's going to make people really upset, and that will push everybody to kind of clamor and demand something like the digital dollar, because the digital dollar will be released directly from the treasury to people in a digital wallet going around the banks, which is why they're objecting. If it goes straight from the treasury to people, the banks aren't needed anymore, and people will realize that, and the banks are like, no, we need our cut. We need our percentage, because that's how we make money. We take a percentage of your money that, for what? No reason, right? So even though it got taken out originally, I think as this progresses and people get more upset with how the banking, and they're bailing out the banks, they've given trillions of dollars to these banks and financial institutions and hedge funds and all this crap. And despite what the news lets you know, people are starting to realize it and get upset. And I think that's part of what we're seeing with this, like protesting against the shutdown too. It's not just people are tired of locked up. There's lots of injustice and unfairness currently going on, and people are starting to notice, especially with all this downtime, sitting at home, being able to kind of read things and study and not just hear the mainstream media. People are starting to get a little perturbed. So, yeah, there's that, and some of the other reasons I think that we're headed towards this way is like recently Donald Trump appointed the former Bakkt CEO, Kelly Loeffler, something like that, Loeffler, however you say her name, to his task force for helping to reopen the economy. Now, Bakkt is a cryptocurrency focused platform, derivatives and whatnot. It's almost a subsidiary of the New York Stock Exchange. Kelly Loeffler is actually married to the guy that runs or owns the New York Stock Exchange. That's why she was picked to run this. She recently became a Republican senator for Georgia after one person's seat was vacated. She's the same person that got in some kind of there was some brouhaha over her recently because she sold all her stocks in January, I believe, ahead of the market crash. People are like, oh, she heard about coronavirus and sold. I'm like, I heard about coronavirus before that briefing and sold my stocks. So is that insider trading on my part? But people just like to get upset. But anyways, she's on President Trump's task force for reopening the economy. Very pro-crypto. She wasn't elected in, she was inserted in. And if you think that that's not going to have an effect on where we're going and why we might be moving to a digital dollar, rethink it, because you don't just hire somebody like this attached to the organizations trying to bring cryptocurrencies to the mainstream America. It doesn't just happen. It's not just a coincidence. So yeah, look into that. Another one, digital dollar. The treasury hired a crypto lawyer from Coinbase. So Coinbase's chief legal officer, and this was a while ago. Brian P. Brooks is appointed as the new chief operating officer in the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency, OCC. This designation was made by Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and will be effective April 1st. So he's already in there. So they brought a lawyer over from Coinbase who kind of helped with their stablecoin project into the Office of the Treasury. Why would they do that? Somebody that specializes in digital currencies coming into the Treasury in the time that we're trying to revamp the situation. They're talking about digital dollars and all this other stuff. What does it mean? Oh, here, what does it mean? Anyways, yeah, we're moving in the direction of launching a digital dollar. The pieces are being put in place, even if they're saying certain things on the news. That's just what the mainstream media does, because they don't want people to front run what the government's going to do, because then that people are able to make money off of that, and they can't have that. All right. So again, this is another big sign that I'm taking as like, be careful, be on the lookout. There's something coming in the digital currency realm, digital dollar, digital yuan. I made the last video about that as well. Here's some other kind of big, like, here, look. Renaissance Technologies market crushing medallion fund is considering jumping into Bitcoin futures recent regulatory filings show. So this is one of the large firms, has nearly 166 billion in regulatory assets under management at the end of 2019, is now applying for and seeking access to Bitcoin futures. So the big players are coming. They're putting in all the necessary steps. So this just further validates that everything is moving towards this digital currency, cryptocurrency type setup, and trading of Bitcoin and these other top cryptos is going to hit the mainstream institutional investors and stuff like that. So front run them. This is going to happen. The world's economy is crashing. You can't just shut things down and expect it to keep going. Okay? One, I wanted to touch on this with one of my top projects, Tezos. More use case and adoption. Vertalo, T0 are bringing 300 million in real estate to the Tezos blockchain. Yeah, digital transfer agent Vertalo is helping to tokenize $300 million in real estate. So this is just, again, another example of different organizations and companies or bodies of whatever adopting Tezos and using it as a smart contract platform to hold assets of value, further adding value to the Tezos network. It's a self-amending blockchain. Don't really risk hard forks or community splits in that sense. I know we had that split with Dune a while back, but that's kind of fizzled out. Nothing much has come of it, and Tezos has just kept trucking along and keeps on receiving adoption everywhere. So, continue to have developments with Tezos. Same, there's some pretty big developments with Algorand. They're rolling out all kinds of things. They got a smart contract platform and so many different things. It's becoming a really big banking platform just in general. So, Tezos and Algorand are two of my top picks. I would keep an eye on those. Yeah, so come back to the market. We can take a refresh of this. I think, again, like I said, in the weeks ahead, we might see a little more volatility in the crypto market. We might see a drop just because I have a personal opinion that the overall stock market will be kind of pulling back some in the next week or two, just because it's really unsustainable and unfeasible. Look at, like, we got oil at 1844. How can you have oil at 1844? The whole world is built on the petrodollar system, which was recently in the 60s or 70s within the last few months to half a year. And now it's at $18. That means anything that was backed by the dollar has lost its value pretty much, because the value of the dollar and the petrodollar has fallen. It's not sustainable to see the S&P 500 and the Dow and these ones keep going up like this. And here, I'll think about it this way, like, market topped, we had like this 30% drawdown in the market. And across all financial institutions and financial products and whatnot, there was at least $11 trillion lost in value. At least. That's probably a lowball number. So I'm just using that to be lowball and use it for a point. And the recent bill that they passed in Congress, it gave the plunge protection team, or the exchange stabilization fund, $425 billion, which they can then lever up 10 times to $4.2 trillion. So they now, and because their fund was empty, they have $4.2 trillion in this fund now, and the drawdown was $11 trillion. Are they going to be able to cover the difference with that? No. Sure, it's not all the money they're buying certain things, and the last price of that thing bought is what they use to determine how much market cap and all that stuff, and how much the whole stock of a company or whatever is worth. Like, so it's not like they need $11 trillion to make $11 trillion in value increase in the whole market. But every time that they prop it up, people are going to sell. You got boomers retiring, 10,000 people a day reaching the age of retiring, especially now. Their jobs are probably, a lot of them are shut down. So why worry about going back to work when you can just kind of retire and take whatever pension that you still have while it's still there, right? Because the pension system is a mess. And you don't have other workers replacing these workers that are retiring. So the funds that, tax funds and all the stuff that go towards the whole revenue base of the U.S. is decreasing. They're retiring and taking money out of their investments, such as stocks and whatnot. Especially after this recent fall, if they're going to see a pop up or increase in the stocks, they're likely to sell, just because they've experienced some loss and they want to retain what value they have because they're retiring. You know, they can't wait another 10 years for things to recover. So all these people that are retiring are likely to start selling some of their assets just to have some income. I'm not buying those assets. I don't think most millennials or young people are. They're interested in different things, and right now they're just trying to survive. It's not like they have a lot of disposable income as it is. So us younger generation, I don't feel, are going to be buying these assets that the older people are selling. So the banks will. The banks will buy it from them to keep some of the value and try and hold that value. But it's turned into a fake market. If the central banks own and are helping prop up the price of every asset, that's a dependent, abusive relationship, in my opinion. Like, what happens when they decide not to do that anymore? You're completely at the whims of the central bank. Now, I understand that markets are volatile, and being at the whims of a volatile market might not be safe or secure, but I'd rather have a free market that I can have the potential of making a lot or losing my money. That's why intelligence and making smart investments comes into play, versus a market where the government buys everything and then one day they're gonna be like, we don't want to support that anymore, and just tanks it, and then you won't be able to get out because there's no liquidity. Nobody's gonna want to buy your asset that the government ain't even buying anymore. So you got all these different big investment managers and hedge funds and whatnot, just basically saying buy the ETFs that the Fed's gonna buy, because BlackRock's buying ETFs for the Fed with some of that $4 trillion, and they're like, we don't. There's no point in all this other stuff. Just buy what they're buying. I'm not gonna do that. That would be the smart thing to do, but it's not against my morals to do that. It's just stupid. Not it's I don't know, it's smart. It's a stupid system in my opinion. Smart thing would probably be to do to try and just milk that as long as they're going, but I don't want to do it. I'm not going to support it. Anybody that complains about it but that continues to invest in it and support it is just part of the problem. They're not going to change it if we're all investing in it. Again, I work as a behavioral consultant. One of the biggest, most effective tools that anybody can do is put something on extinction, which is somebody's doing a behavior you do not like. Ignore it. Walk away. Go away. Do not give any energy towards that thing, because usually they want the energy if it's interaction. Even like a kid doing something, and the parents are usually ignoring the kid, right? So try and do certain things to get the parents' attention. If it doesn't, they might do something bad, negative, viewed by the parents as a negative thing. They go over and they break some, and then all of a sudden the parents that weren't paying attention to him come over and pay attention to him, whether it's good attention or bad attention. They're yelling at him. At least they're paying attention to the kid. So kids learn, like, let me break shit, and then my parents pay attention to me. That's what they're doing. Everybody keeps getting involved, and we all complain. But the government's like, let's just break shit. No, they'll stay involved. They'll keep doing it. Blah, 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 blah. Some people will be like, well, we know how to make money. This is going to make money, so we'll just do it anyways. Yeah, we don't like it. And I'm like, no. Stop. Just stop. Pull your money out of the market. Pull your money out of the banks. I've said this before, and we'll wait until you guys get your shit together. I mean, I talked about it in a previous video, and I called it the Do Nothing campaign, where I hypothesized that if we all, like on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Saturday, Sunday, Monday, for a few weeks to a couple months, decided to do nothing on those days, stay home, not buy stuff, it would have a ripple effect through the economy, and the powers that be would kind of notice and maybe change things. I just said that for a few days every week for a month or two. They've had us shut down for a month to 2 months all week long. Not everybody, most people, the whole economy shut down. I was saying this back before that would have an effect. If you don't think that this has an effect, you need to think a little deeper. We all need to realize there's a big hit coming. The economy, it's about to tank. Just because there's no commerce, there's no money moving back and forth around the economy, in between people, service, like massages or car repairs or food service. Those still get a little bit. All this money that was flowing, the lifeblood of our economy, is now stagnant. It's going to be a negative effect. I just hope everybody realizes that and gets wise to what's going on and stops participating in this fake market. I mean, it's not guaranteed that the stock market's going to crash. The Fed and the government, they have unlimited money to print what they want. But there's a strong likelihood, in my opinion, that it will eventually no longer keep going up. I can just see all the people complaining after another 30% drop and wanting to be bailed out by the Fed. But there's clear signposts. And to me, if you're paying attention to the actual raw data and not the talking heads on the media, it's clear what's going on. And we all need to act accordingly. So keep an eye on all that stuff. The digital dollar, the digital economy is going to be rolling out here soon. It's going to start in China with their digital Yuan. I believe by the end of this year, we're likely to have a digital US dollar. Potentially have our own wallets, like an app released by the Fed or the government that tracks things like digital payouts from digital currency directly from the Fed. Might even track things like Social Security payments, Medicare, Medi-Cal, disability insurance, all these types of things. They might be able to kind of localize and put in one type of app instead of having it distributed through this central banking and commercial banking scheme that's really just a Ponzi. The fractional reserve Ponzi that's going to collapse. So those are my opinions on that. We're in for a rough time, folks. This disease doesn't look like it's going to just go away, and I think it's a bioweapon myself. So just take those things into consideration. Again, change is coming. Embrace it. Why not? That's your crypto awareness for today. Again, it's not about what you do. It's about being aware of what you do, because with awareness comes choice and change. And remember, any change can be done with awareness, acceptance, intention, action, and patience. That's your crypto awareness for today. I hope everybody's doing all right. Stay safe.